All right, we're going to move on in the content schedule. We're going to be doing rapid fire this morning. We want to make sure everybody gets the appropriate amount of time. We've got another panel on global adoption. Where are we now? And our panelists will be Erica, who will be moderating, Chloe, Awosika, Juan, David, Angela, and Luke.
Hello.
And my apologies.
Hello, everybody.
One of my favorite people in the space. I'm going to do an apology on camera because I literally missed her on the list because she's been working so much with us on the content preparation. It's actually something that I missed myself. So apologies, Simona. We love you. Anyway, moving on. You guys ready to go?
Yeah.
All for it.
Take it away.
So hello, everyone. I'm going to be moderating a fascinating panel on global adoption. Where are we now? And a unique aspect of our panel is that community is an underlying factor in all of our backgrounds and that we're ever so scattered all around the world. So before we dive in, why don't we go around and share a short introduction? You can share your background and what you're currently working on, etc. Maybe I should start first. My name is Erica, and I'm the CEO and founder of Krypto Seoul. It's a community building team focused on helping solid projects get decent exposure around the world through all kinds of events. So I was based in Seoul for the last 10 years, but now I'm based in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And so I plan to build a new community out here, maybe Ethereum community as well. So yeah, thank you. And let's go around maybe to Chloe.
Sure. Nice to meet everyone here. I've seen a lot of familiar faces as well. I'm Chloe Lewis. I'm the founder of the Marma J Foundation here in Antigua and Barbuda. What that is just an altruistic foundation where I try to use different Web3 technologies to support the local community. I also work with the near, blockchain community, supporting their different community initiatives and helping with some of the artistic guilds there. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, Juan.
Hi, everyone. Here, Juan from Colombia. Super excited to see so many faces and to discuss this topic. I have been moving the ball here around Ethereum Bogota. Also, we are working in ETH Colombia, and right now I'm working for Status, building communities in Spanish and trying to solve problems for our communities. So this is my background. Also, I started in the Ethereum community last year. The pandemic was like a great experience and an opportunity to connect virtually with some of you guys, and also working in education. So this is part of the things I'm excited about.
Awesome, thank you. Why don't we go with Shoka?
Okay. All right, my name is Awosika Ayodeji. I'm from Nigeria. Okay, I entered the space 2017 when I think that was the airdrop era, and entering 2018, I saw a need to actually do more because a number of people, there was a number of gaps between the blockchain space and education in Nigeria. So I decided to jump on the education wagon, thanks to those that were like, we entered as a team of about 70 at the time. So we're doing a lot of advocacy, learning, teaching meetups. And at some point, I decided that, okay, let's jump on Ethereum, stay focused on Ethereum, because I see the robustness of Ethereum and how the community should be. So I started from there, and gradually I saw the developer gap. So I decided to do development education. Then that was what built Web3 Bridge. And since then, we've been doing an amazing job. We've been doing cohorts after cohorts, bringing people into the space, teaching them about Solidity, getting them onto projects. And here we are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Angela? Hi.
Hi. I'm Angela, and I am currently working with Gitcoin on kernel fellowship. So mostly my work surrounds making the experience of each fellow a little bit better each day, as much as I can. Before that, I was working with Matic Network as a developer evangelist / platform engineer. So it has been fun, my time in blockchain. So I started with one of these hackathons. My journey into blockchain and Ethereum started with one of these hackathons, which was ETH India in 2018. And since then, I could never really get out of the rabbit hole. So I'm really excited to be here. And also, can I mention I'm loving these colors in the background? I love
Me too. It's rainbow. Thank you.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Luke Stokes. I have a background in technology, majored in computer science. I ran a company called Awosika for a long time, an e-commerce company. So I was familiar with the payment space and got into crypto in 2013. So it's been a while for me. I've been very excited about it. Went full time in the beginning of 2018. Been involved in lots of different projects in the space. Part of the Steam, now Hive blockchain as a block producer there. Also part of EOS DAX. I've been very passionate about decentralized autonomous communities. So I'm very excited to hear about the different ways that communities are being built throughout the world with cryptocurrency. I live in Puerto Rico with my wife and my family, and I'm currently working on the FIO protocol. As the managing director, we're just trying to make cryptocurrency easier for everybody. And I'd love to talk about usability, user experience as it relates to adoption. So very exciting day today with everything that went on in the news with Tesla and everything. So it's going to be a fun conversation. Global adoption starts today in a big way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So speaking of adoption, right, and we're in different parts of the world right now. And what is the crypto adoption sentiment generally like in your respective region? And, I mean, I think a lot of people are excited right now globally, but still, before this news happened, maybe what was the general sentiment like? Maybe anyone want to chip in?
Yeah, sure. So I think here in LATAM, we have like two types of countries. The countries that are experiencing the problem. So you might read in the headlines what's going on in Venezuela, Argentina. So for people in those countries, they already feel the pain of losing their purchasing power. In Colombia, Brazil, we need to be more creative because we have this like bullish market. So people start to ask you about, so what is Bitcoin? And then you start to explain what is a wallet. So that's like a natural way to, and this is like a really nice time to explain what is this all about. But we want people to come for the bullish market, but to stay for the technology and all the things that move around. At the same time, for those countries, like I mentioned, Venezuela and Argentina, crypto has been a real solution for a real problem. So we're super excited to see there how people are having an option to move around in an open economy. So this is also a way of how we see in LATAM those countries that are, for example, DAI adoption in Argentina has been like a interesting case study. For the work we are doing in Status, for example, we want to work with grassroots communities because, as you know, we all know in this panel, like the transaction fees are so high. So we want to understand how to onboard more people. And it's hard for us to tell them, okay, you can download a wallet, but you need Ether to start to interact with different dApps. So for example, something I also want to mention that is really particular in our region is that we have some centralized exchange that has a lot of convenience. So you have a trade-off between KYC, so you can use your credit card and get your first crypto, but at the same time you are using wallets that doesn't allow you to move to the world that we all like. So peer-to-peer markets are also really interesting. One I think I would like to drop as a region is like, for example, the things that are happening in different economies. We have a lot of movement of people. So remittances are something really interesting here. You have people working in different economies, so you can bypass those laws that doesn't make sense. So you can use crypto for that. So this is a way to kickstart a conversation among our peers to let them know that this is like a new currency that you can use in a better world. So that's the way that we try to educate people, because I said first, you can come here for the price, you have to educate and stay to build different things. So we have to think this funnel on how to direct people to the right community. So I would love to know you guys, how you are doing with like a specific niches.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So I'll speak quickly just on Antigua, just because I think it's quite different than what a lot of us in like the crypto space are used to in terms of like adoption. Being on crypto Twitter a lot, I feel like you get a lot of like this similar viewpoints of, there's a bull market, everyone knows what's going on, everyone's excited. Whereas in Antigua, it's a very small country, 80,000 people, local population. And so a lot of times when you talk about blockchain or cryptocurrency, a lot of those same news headings that a lot of us are used to, they don't really make it here. So a lot of the local population might be a lot of times are too busy to be on Twitter all the time, hearing about all this stuff. So the crypto bubble, even though it's getting larger and larger for a lot of us, here locally, you talk about blockchain and it goes right over their head. So it really comes to that whole one-on-one, trying to get each person, and what Juan was talking about, the education aspect. It really becomes a one-on-one educational forum where you really got to make someone trust you before they can start trusting any protocol that you're talking about. And then, from there it becomes, okay, well, now that they trust you as an individual, how do you get them to actually put some economic resources into that? And so I think that a lot of what we've experienced maybe 2016, 2017 in this space is kind of how I try and look at things now, where we had a lot of, in 2017, the ICO market, we had a lot of scams coming out where, here, everything seems to be a scam. Unless it has the government backing, it's all a scam. Bitcoin's a scam, Ethereum's a scam, just because people don't know what it is. And so, yeah, I think what Juan was talking about, the educational aspect becomes really important when people can't really go do their own research as easily as maybe we're used to.
I have a similar experience in 2013, 2014, when I started a Bitcoin meetup in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was a lot of excitement. And then when the price crashed from $1,200 down to $250, kind of everyone disappeared. And so we're seeing a lot of excitement here in Puerto Rico. Crypto Mondays is tonight, and we have a great community that shows up every week. It's really amazing. But it's interesting because we have this dual community. We have kind of a lot of the US citizens that come here for tax benefits and to build something amazing on the island. And then we also have others that are local and are kind of like, who are you all? What are you coming here to do? And so it's really amazing to see people coming to say, we want to make this a test bed for how crypto can be used in Puerto Rico. And we have those same kind of I'll get in an Uber and they're like, Bitcoin, what is that? And I'm like, oh my, I found someone who's never heard of Bitcoin. Amazing. And I get to share my story, and it's super fun. But as you guys were both saying, with the high fees and just the lack of education and just the complexity, the big crazy public addresses and things, I think we have a lot of work to do as a community so that we can accelerate that onboarding process beyond just, one-on-one. Because I agree with you, so much of it is that one-on-one kind of building relationships, but obviously that doesn't scale very well. And the problems in the world today need to scale quickly as far as what we can offer with cryptocurrency and blockchain and decentralized autonomous communities. I think we have so much to offer. We just have to be able to onboard people quicker than we are now.
Okay, I think there are similar experiences we all have when it comes to the whole market craze and likes of them. 2017, 2018, you see a lot of people came into the space. Woo, the markets are booming, everything is booming. Immediately the market go crash down, everybody left. Now it was as if nobody was actually in the space anymore. You talk about Bitcoin, it's like, no, scam. The government keep issuing regulations. And now that the market starts up again, I think 2 weeks ago when, what's his name now? When the Doge issue was rising, I see a lot of people who don't know anything about Bitcoin shouting, how do I buy Doge? How do I buy that? Like, oh, now the market is not happy. Now Bitcoin keeps going over, like, oh, how do I buy Bitcoin? How do I buy Bitcoin? Like the craze keep going up forward. But I would say that in Nigeria and Africa, the adoption rate is actually increasing, because the truth is that a number of systems are still not working. Like you want to transfer funds from Nigeria abroad, bringing funds back. Remittances is way worse. Like with cryptocurrency, you get it immediate. Like payments, a lot of payments are now made in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. I think last week we had an issue where the Central Bank of Nigeria issued a statement where saying banks should stop interacting with cryptocurrency. Like the market came crashing down a little, but I discovered that a number of people began to innovate. Like between Friday and today, P2P transactions have increased. Platforms have innovated. I think there's an NGNT USDC now. Like a number, so it shows that adoption is actually increasing. People are using crypto on a daily basis. Although that's not rule out that there is need for education, because a number of people came for the bull run. They will not get the right education. They only came for the money, and whatever. By the time the markets dump on them, they are the ones that will go out to meet the government. Hey, I've been scammed, I've been doomed, but it was actually their fault because they didn't get a proper education. That's why on a grassroots level, we currently have like I think 2-3 arms of education that is going on with Web3 Bridge, with other the groups I belong to. Like we do daily, weekly education, we do monthly education level to make sure that at the end of the day, by the time markets crash, you understand that there is a need to keep up with the trends, like the technology trend, not just the cryptocurrency. Thank you very much.
Angela, anything to add on your end?
Yeah, it's very interesting to know about how governments and how people are perceiving crypto at this point in time. In India, it's actually, so for me personally, it has been very contrasting, wherein at one end, virtually, I'm engaged with a community who is extremely excited to build in crypto, which is the kernel community. And on the other end, around me, right now, what the news tells us is that the government might might pass in a law that will ban cryptocurrency, that will perform a blanket ban on all cryptocurrency trading and withholding of any sort of crypto, not even stable coins. So there is scare around me locally, and virtually I see people so excited. So this sort of contrast has been very interesting to observe for me personally. And apart from that, like in my local community, the most difficult thing that I find in convincing people to get onboarded on crypto is the fact that if you lose your private keys, you lose your money. This particular fact has been so difficult for people to digest, because I was trying to onboard my sister in crypto, and she was super excited about ETH because of the prices. She was super excited about Bitcoin. But the fact that if she loses her hardware wallet, she'll lose all her money was so indigestible to her. Because I do understand, for a credit card, if she loses her credit card, she can file in a complaint. But for Bitcoin, there's no such thing as that. And till this date, I haven't been able to convince her that it's a feature, not a bug. And I'm still struggling with that. So it's a good thing that you have 100% control on it, but then with great power comes great responsibility. So this is one thing that I want to share. And also with governments banning cryptocurrencies, I feel that especially in India, I don't see the people would not come into crypto, like they'll stop trading or anything. Like right now, for me, around me in India, I feel the only killer app on blockchain is the crypto trading that people do. I feel there's a lot of volume being traded. I don't remember talking about any DApp to people, the technological aspects of Ethereum and any great decentralized application that people are excited about. It's mostly about crypto trading, which is also pretty interesting to me. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this unfolds, especially around me, wherein the government is right on track to completely blanket ban the entire cryptocurrency, and then in the virtual environment, where people are definitely not going to stop. So that is like an interesting aspect to me.
Thank you. I agree with you. I think, like, for me, I'm based in Korea and Vietnam, but then in Korea, and as you may have heard, Korea was a heavily trading country as a whole. And when the kimchi premium was at its peak, people were just like crazy about what makes money. I think a lot of people are interested in investment, not mostly on tech. It's more about investment. And I think, like, in Korea, it's very difficult to find a very I guess, avid, passionate, open source developer group. So it's very difficult to persuade them, like, hey, this thing actually does work. Like, open source community is the deal, but they don't really get that. So I think it's more like a corporate enterprise-based developer community, it seems like. So it's very difficult to have that community open sourced, who's passionate about it. So I think that was a difficult thing to persuade. And also, now people are asking me, when Dogecoin, like, when is it going to the moon, right? So it's very difficult to kind of fill in the gap between the understanding between, the typical VCs who are not into crypto, who just want to know about the price. When is it going to go up? Is it going to go up? So it's very, I'm always in conflict, first, like internal conflict, how to approach these people. So, I think when we come to like persuading people, well, not persuading, but educating these people, approaching people, what's your story like in getting them interested in crypto and you know, Ethereum per se? What is your story behind it? What do you do to make them interested?
If I could go ahead and take that one. I've had an interesting process where for 8 years, I've been talking about cryptocurrency on social media, giving talks back in 2013 about how it's going to be more disruptive than the internet. And I had a lot of friends that I know were following me the whole time, like listening in, going, okay, it's interesting. I might, you know, get that at some point, you know, and some of them did, a lot of them did. And they thank me often saying, I'm so glad I listened to you back then. But a larger number of them didn't. And one thing that's been really interesting with the project I'm working on now, where they have this way to like sign up for crypto. You know, they get themselves a field address and it's like, then it works for Ethereum, it works for Bitcoin, it works for everything. And it's something they can kind of connect to. And I was just really surprised in the last few weeks. I've been kind of pushing my friends a little more like, hey, sign up and I'll send you like $5 or something. And the number of people that are like, now I have my first crypto because you just sent it to me. So just, it reminded me something I've believed for a long time, that just making it easy is a really, really big part. It has to be as simple as PayPal and Venmo. And it's another reason I got involved in Steam and Hive, because it was easy to have this human readable address and I could blog to make crypto. And I think like even early on, the early faucets, I love seeing those posts. It's like a 5 Bitcoin faucet, right? They had these faucets where you could just go and get crypto really easily. And I think that's part of what works, is just making this easy for people. And at the same time, like through that process, educating them and helping them realize like, you do have to understand seed phrases. There's some personal responsibility involved. And yeah, fees can get you if you don't know what you're doing. So just hopefully making it easier seems to be the key that I've found a lot of people respond to.
Yeah, I think way back 2017 when we started, there was this pattern we use for education. I think we still do that now. Like before the general class, we do talk about setting up wallets. Then it was the airdrop time, so we do airdrop now. I tell people that the truth is that you cannot separate education in crypto with incentives. They go both ways. Like we do, I think in our community, in Web3 community, we still do the same thing. Tomorrow we're going to be having a class. Then on Thursday we're going to be having a quiz, whereby after the quiz, 3 people get to win something. So that way, if you want to win on Thursday, you come to class on Tuesday. So we are trying to marry both the education and incentive, and we have been doing that since 2017. It is after you've learned about the whole incentive, airdrop, setting wallet, then now start teaching you the in-depth of blockchain. That by the time you earn your first $1, it gives you interest to want to learn more. That has been work for us, and it's still working.
Yeah, I really like that approach, actually. It just occurred to me that this is something I do with my friends as well, wherein, so this was one thing that got me interested in Bitcoin in the first place when I read the Mastering Bitcoin book. So it had this little thing that is when it occurred to me. So so getting a private key is not like you're opening an account. You're not signing up to a page. You can basically roll a dice 256 times and you have a private key. So that was one, like a very little educational experience for me, which was super interesting. So the private key doesn't really have to be on a paper or any account or anywhere. It has to be just in your head. You can take it anywhere in the world with you. So that is the one thing that I usually share with people. So this is like their first little lesson into cryptocurrency, and that is what gets them excited. So I'm saying them in plural in a way that I have educated a lot of people, but it has been 2 people successfully. So I'm pretty proud of that. So I'm really proud of that. So hopefully I can find some more interesting ways of getting people excited about this using education and incentive. That is a really good combination.
Thanks.
I will share my approach when it comes to storytelling. So 2 weeks ago, one high school teacher that she knew that I was working on a crypto company, she wanted to invest for the first time. So we arranged a talk for aunties. So I took like 5 aunties and told them what's like the thing with Ether. And the best analogy that worked was like to compare that to the Forex. In Colombia, people are used to travel to the States or to Europe. So they have this idea of how much is €1 or $1. So I start telling them that this is a digital economy. So you need to have this cash. And the next analogy that worked really well was the Uber search price system. So I have to explain them how you need to pay for your decentralization. And then that kickstarted all the conversation about what is important to know, to own your data. So using this storytelling for them to how you travel to a different world, to a different country, is to enter to a digital economy. So I was doing this. So you go to a mall here in Colombia, is normal that you have some exchanges. So you go your Colombian pesos and you trade that for dollars. So I explained them now that we have a peer-to-peer marketplace, so you can have like a Uber that they can give you some money. So start to play with these analogies and examples have been super easy for them to grasp. And also here, a particularity that we have is like our aunties in WhatsApp are super active. So we want to create like an army of aunties that are going to reply that using memes. So I invite you to play with this storytelling with examples, and also to identify the people that are going to be like to grow the ball, like the snowball. This type of active people is key to identify ambassadors.
Yeah, I think I really enjoy the marriage of like education and incentives. I think a lot of times though, like in the crypto community, we kind of go straight to economic incentives, which is not always how a lot of people in like everyday life are incentivized, especially here in Antigua. I mean, people are just used to sometimes not having as much as what we're used to having. And so, sometimes I think it's always great to use like NFTs as well. And so I think it gives a visual representation to some of the things that we're used to seeing digitally and we understand, but using something like an NFT where it's like, okay, you can use someone else's wallet and just try and create this token, drag and drop something, create some sort of NFT, send it around. And a lot of times teaching the simple things that we're used to, okay, this is how you send a transfer. It's going from one wallet to the next. Where instead of being economic incentives, it could be simply, creating a card for a friend and sending it to their address and having them receive it. And then maybe that will get them to, okay, I don't mind making an account, and I might lose my private key, but it might only be $1 in there to make some pictures for some friends. And so a lot of times it could be a short or a smaller stepping stone instead of going straight from a centralized bank account into like a completely decentralized world. That's kind of what I usually try and use to kind of take smaller steps for some people.
Absolutely. And we've been like building like crazy. All of these, panelists have been building and, been educating, and I'm sure you had your hurdles and your limitations that you faced while you were doing that. And can you share some of your experiences as our last question? And maybe you can share also what your future plans are and maybe overcoming that.
I guess I'll jump in. I think the biggest thing has been just the booms and busts of the token cycles. As people go, wait, it went up and then it went down, and I sold for a loss and I lost money. And trying to get people to not think in just terms of economics, but think in terms of why it's important. Really understand what they're getting involved in. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just usability, making it much, much, much easier for people to use cryptocurrency. And that's with the human readable addresses and payment requests and memo data, contextual data about transactions. This is the type of stuff I'm working on personally, because I really do think making it easier will make a big difference.
So just quickly here, I think the biggest issue has been trying to bring adoption just through usability. So just here you can't really just go to an exchange or just go to an ATM and just purchase as easily. And so just getting like people to understand that you can use this to purchase something is sometimes is pretty difficult. So I think what I'm personally working on next is trying to get more merchants just to trust accepting it, so that the everyday person walking around can actually go into a shop and exchange the cryptocurrency for like a sandwich, which I think really ties some usability and some value to the cryptocurrency we use.
Yeah, I think merchant adoption is actually something that I'm actually been interested in. I've mentioned it over and over and over, but at some point I told people not until when adoption education increases, merchant adoption will not be easy, because the merchant does not even understand. The number of people that want to use does not still understand. So getting the right path for education is still something that like I taught people in our dev community. I said, build products that people want to use. Like now we're working on building a chess game, like build an actual chess game that accept people, that make people put in like DeFi based chess game, like something that people use every day. Like when we get to the point where people wake up in a day and easily pick up a dApp just the same way they use their WhatsApp phone, WhatsApp app, it makes it easier for adoption to flow well. But now at the moment we still have a lot of disconnect between the development parts, the people part, then cryptocurrency is just in the middle. So we have a lot of traders who does not care about what happened to the market. They are just to trade. So we need to marry the three together. That is one of the biggest challenges I think we still have now.
I will add super quick the off-ramp part. A lot of people ask, okay, so I put this, how can I get this back? So peer-to-peer market for me is the answer, because people have this sense of, okay, I invest 1 and I got 2, I earn 1 and I can do something else with that. So that off-ramp has to be super smooth.
Angela, last words?
Just that I have really been enjoying this conversation a lot, and in terms of if it's in terms of educating the like in the community around me, I feel my approach has been, like I said, education. And also one thing is that empowerment in terms of technology is what I really like to deliver in whatever pitch I'm giving around blockchain. So if like spinning up your own full node and being mindful of the fact that you're basically being a part of the network that on the very network that you're exchanging your value on, is, I feel, if you basically sit back and think about it, it's pretty powerful thing. And to be able to be a part and also use the same thing that you're on, it has been the most mind-blowing thing for me. And I feel that is the one approach that I use, empowerment in terms of technology and value.
Thank you so much, guys. We need an hour to talk about this. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.